Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book to Block, the series where I bring my fantasy novel to life in Minecraft, one block at a time. In today's episode, we're starting kind of near the front of the city here. And in the last episode, I mentioned lore-wise, before he makes his way to the bookstore in the back, kind of back alley shopping district here, he goes to the main library of the city, where he can't find what he's looking for because it's kind of the proper grand library. It wouldn't have information on all the curses and kind of less proper things. So in today's episode, we're going to build that library right up here in the front. I've already cleared a little bit more space, flattened it out, and now we're going to go out to the outer lands outside my ring here, and we're going to build it. So let's get to it. Alright, and that is most of the exterior done. I kind of planned it out here so I didn't have to think about going into the wall, and then I just kind of brought it all back. Got a little bit of texturing in here between the mud bricks and then just the packed mud, and then mixing around with copper. This is actually based on, let me check, I think I wrote it down over here, the John Rylands Library in Manchester, UK. Basically, I was looking for an old library, and this one just kind of had it had the kind of mud color, the kind of the darkish brown, lightish brown, and then a bit of that actually kind of coppery. It's not the fully oxidized, so if I go to copper, it wasn't quite the blue, it was more of the greenish. So this one, the weathered, worked a lot better. Problem is with obviously bringing things into Minecraft, detailing is difficult, and this one, like the real build had, or I guess not the real build, the real building had a lot more detail than possible in Minecraft. I originally thought maybe going in with a bunch of entities, like for all these windows, I was going to do like the panes, but it doesn't really work. Like here, let's slow down a little bit. For like these corner bits, you can't have glass here. So what I did is I just brought a block back and then just kind of filled it in to my best ability just to get that kind of curve that's hard to get in Minecraft. I've got a little bit more detailing maybe to do a bit later, but for now, I've also missed a couple of bits. As you can see here, that's not over here. But let's make a clone of this. We're going to grab the whole thing, road included, using the cloning tool. Grab as much of the build as I possibly can. Maybe go back a couple more blocks. Make sure we get the full thing. I want to copy the air so that it's all proper. And now I'm going to move once, and then we're going to fly really quickly. Oh, made the mistake of lowering my speed. Let's fly over slowly. I'll speed this up, and we can place it back on the volcano. All right, and here we are. So now I just got to make sure it's all in place. I want to make sure I don't change the terrain too much. I'll shift it over maybe a little bit, and then I'll bring the mountain down a little bit. But maybe back a couple more blocks. It's hard to tell exactly because I did take like an actual cast of the whole mountain. I think this is actually where it is. So if I go in one, we're starting to see less. So if I bring it out two, it's out. I think that's right. Just using my body to check the invisible blocks. But now if I paste this in, we've got it on our volcano here. So that's a really big build in comparison to some of the others. It's using less of the deep slate, but I think that's okay. I didn't get to copy over my path here, so let's just do a quick kind of connection. I want it outside of this little iron bar barrier. And it's all connected up to the main path. So now I just got to get these slabs, maybe make this a little less steep of a path because it's hard to get a smooth path when they're this close. But then we can remove bits like this, replace blocks. Ooh, don't want that. One more over here. And then we can start working on the interior. Right now it's just a bunch of empty rooms. I'll turn on no clip so I can just fly. So we got two over here on each side. And then we go up to the kind of attic. I got these towers, but they're not going to be really used for anything right now. Maybe I can fill things in later. But my plan is to have these kind of as like study halls. So I'll get a bunch of desks and tables, maybe a couple bookshelves on the walls for both these. And then this is going to open up into the grand library. So it's not going to be massive, but it's going to dig in a little bit. So I'm going to definitely be using extrude just to make a little bit of space. It's hard to see, so let's turn off my shaders. And I guess with no clip on, I can tell how much space I have. I got plenty of space actually, because I don't really have much inside the mountain. So let's go back a couple more. All right, I think that's gonna work. So I'm gonna have huge kind of rows of books, and I'm gonna try and find a couple of reference materials just to get a good idea of how I want it to look. I'm then gonna kind of wall these off and then have maybe some nice staircases that go up to this area, and then since it's a different level, just a nice smooth to here, and then a larger one up to here. Alright, so we head on in the front door here. I made a little bit of progress, just doing a little update before I finish. So my plan is to have like a two-tiered library system with the books in the front here. So I got two chandeliers. I had to cheat a little bit and put some lights here, the light blocks, just because it wasn't lighting it up enough for what I wanted. I tried sneaking in some candles, but it still felt a little bit too dark. Because, I mean, in Minecraft, light doesn't really travel far enough for like enclosed spaces like this. We don't have like a powerful enough block for like if I had one here, it would light up everything in this area. It was basically only reaching to the floor and maybe to the side, so that's just not enough for what I needed. So I added some candles, lit them up, and then added some of the fake light blocks. So I'm going in with these chiseled bookshelves just because I can kind of give it a little bit of variety. Right now they're all the same because I just clone them over and over, but I can go in, just grab a simple book, and then just kind of scribble with it, and it gives each one kind of unique look. I can make some more full than others, some like really empty, but that kind of gives it a little bit of look. I've also gone for like kind of a vaulted ceiling here. I've got my staircase going up to here, so I'll clone that on this side. Now I just need to figure out what to do with these back areas. I'm thinking of doing like a forbidden section, kind of like in Harry Potter, like the restricted area where less known books are coming into and stored here. And maybe the same for this side. Or maybe I'll just close it off and have only this middle area available. And then I've got these two front rooms I mentioned earlier. I'm going to turn off my shaders just so it's easier to see, because without all the pre-made lighting, it's harder to get see what I want. So we got the first floor here, so we got some windows looking out onto the landscape, so a pretty good view here. But I'm going to make this floor and this floor, like these rooms, into like kind of study rooms or reading rooms. So they'll have a bunch of desks and chairs, just places where if you can't check out the book outside, then you can come into here and silently read it. When looking at this, this feels a little bit open, so I might have like a bench down the center here, like a on each side, so you can maybe just take a quick seat before maybe checking it to one of the reading rooms. So now what I've got to do is I've got to clean up the reading rooms, figure out what I want to do with these back bits, and then maybe do like a front desk area, because I mean this is a volcano city of dwarves. They're probably not the most respectful of books, so they're gonna have to have a little bit of security to make sure nothing happens to all these books in here. Alright, another quick little check-in, a little bit more complete. I've got the roof basically done now. It's kind of hard to see. Let's turn off the shaders. It's hard to see because I'm doing kind of a smooth transition between, trying to just keep all the kind of arch of it completely within all kind of directions, and then you have to figure out how to meet it up. I might kind of back it up on this like I did here, but a bit of difference makes it look a little more creative. Let's go back into the shaders now. So as you enter, you're greeted by two desks. I need to light these up somehow. And a bit of art on the walls. So obviously these are the default vanilla ones. So one day I might change these out for much nicer paintings that kind of fit the setting a bit more. But for now it's just a good way to fill up space on a blank wall. After you kind of enter your way through, maybe like this is the check-in, this is the check-out. You get your books if you're taking them out into the outside. And then I kind of finished up. I got these little benches with these little lighting stands. I used some shelving with just a trapdoor, and then a nice little lantern on top. I'm going with the copper still because I feel like that's the theme I've kind of decided on for this city is copper and then deep slate, and then the accents of like tough. I used a bit of andesite here just because I didn't want it to all be tough. I wanted a little bit lighter gray, and this one works quite well. If we head over here, I started working on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish these rooms and then just copy it over to this side. Doesn't need to be too unique because they're basically used for the same thing. But if we come back here, I got a little bit. Let's grab one of these for lighting. The restricted section. So we come into here, it's all kind of chained off. So you need someone to kind of unlock everything as you go. We've got our watchers as these little golems that have kind of oxidized away and are no longer moving. And then, oh, I guess I missed on this side. I misjudged the shape of everything. So if I remove these, that'll fix everything up real well. Toss that to offhand. Oh, and one more. Hopefully that didn't destroy. Yeah, so I got these iron bars. I manually adjusted them with the tinker tool here just so it doesn't connect to anything, just looks a little cooler. And then it's the exact same on the other side. So let's lock back up. Ooh. Let's toss these in. And I guess it didn't copy over fully. So something must have gone wrong when I was cloning it because I did the other side first. Actually, I kind of like having it like that. So I'll finish that up and reconnect that properly. Close that up. So now we've got to go on to our kind of study room. So what I want is ones with like some with like big tables where like lots of people can read at, and then maybe upstairs will be like the independent study kind of thing where they each have their own desk to read and maybe write notes about what they learned. Another thing I liked is I had these kind of areas, but I didn't want to have books in these kind of corners in the kind of put back one block section. So I replaced it with mud, and then I did my noise painter, just 50-50 of the mud and then the packed mud, so the bricks and the mud. And then I use the shelving because it's the stripped oak and then into the... I wish we had like a stair that kind of melded better with this, but this is the best we're going to get with the coloring. And then on the side, it just really makes it, frees it up from feeling like really boring. So like if you compare either side, this one looks a lot more interesting. So we can use that to kind of spruce up these little bits. I'm not sure if I'm going to go like all the way like this. That does add a lot more texture, so I might do that. You just run into the problems of when it's beside something like this. So maybe I'll only do it on that side. And then we can do the same over here. And then that's looking pretty good. Actually, I look like I missed this. I can copy this over this design just to break it up, get a little bit more different colors into here. Let's do it on the corner as well. And that kind of just melds everything together a little bit more. And we got a little bit better lighting. So if we come back to the center, as we're walking through, it doesn't feel like super bright, like it's outside, but it doesn't feel like dank and dark, like what I wanted for like the restricted section. I want this to be like an unknown, like you peer through the door and it's like all creepy and scary. So now let's get to working on the kind of study rooms, and then we'll see about any other detailing we can get to. Alright, so we're all finished with the build, so let's head on in. I've got my front desks all lit up, so I'd have one person working each, one for in, one for out. Our artwork, like I mentioned. I've copied over my chandelier, so everything is well lit on both sides. So now if we come down to the group study area, which I call it, force of habit from my studying days, but this is just the group area where like people can work together or need a larger space to work on projects. Got some nice chairs out here that are kind of close to the nice view outside. But I really like the kind of color match from the dark oak to the mangrove, and I'm using these shelves everywhere now. They're my new kind of chair siding opposed to the trapdoors that they used to be the kind of norm. Now it's the shelving because it just gives a lot more shape to it as well, with like the how it has the kind of curve with like the top and bottom bit with like little out bits. But this really fits in here. But then if we head on upstairs to the kind of independent studying area, we got a bunch of these little desks. So basically it's all the same thing, just copied over and over. Mangrove again with the dark oak chairs. And then you can kind of sneak through these little overpasses to get to more over here. This one I think has the best view, or maybe, actually no, you can't see from this one. So this one probably has the best view of the nice mountain range and kind of peeking into the village over there. The same on the other side. I did a couple cool lighting tricks. So you can see here, this painting's actually giving off a bit of light. So what you do, I did it with the no updates, and then I grab a lantern. I sneak, oh, I guess I can't do it as well here. I gotta find where the floor is, so we're gonna do it here. I toss one in here, replace, and now we got a bit more lighting, just so like the walls don't feel really dark. More here, and just adds a little bit more lighting so it doesn't feel super dark. Like here it feels kind of dark, so what I would probably do is, let's see, there we go. I could always just toss one of these here. Problem is that creates a weird kind of pattern, so I don't want that. So if I wanted to, I could create much better, but I think having a little dark spot is okay. If I wanted to, I could probably bring another one of these chandeliers in, and another lighting trick I did is down in here, we've got a lantern. So if you remove this, I guess it's hard to tell, but you can kind of tell the difference now. A little bit of the light leaks out. So I'm using these as a way to get a bit of light here, like as if like the light coming from the outside windows is actually coming in. Because in Minecraft, you don't get the best lighting from that kind of stuff. Unless it's like directly overhead, you don't really get lighting from windows. It's like very minimal. But that is the build. So I didn't do too much detailing up here because you're never going to actually see up here. So I guess the only time, so maybe I will do it after, because the pathway up here kind of looks down onto it. So maybe I'll add a bit of detail later on. But I think for now, where I am in the city build, I think that is good enough for now. It is a massive build compared to some of the other ones. I mean, these warehouses look about the same size, but they're just not quite as detailed. It is kind of standing out with how much mud it is, but it is the grand library of this area, so it kind of needs to stand out. It needs to seem fancy. Well, it looks like I caught some strays over here. Not sure if how I destroyed things. Looks like I had replace on, so I removed a couple of these stairs. That happens a lot, just because if I have infinite reach on and then replace, if I miss, it hits anything in view. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe for more episodes coming soon. Until next time.